Welcome to today's webinar. I am Kayla Leos. I'm one of the co-founders of Zoodealio and the CEO, and I am so excited to have you here today. You do not want to sleep on today's strategy. It is a strategy to move your listings. So maybe you have some homes that are sitting on the market. They're getting a little stagnant. You're going through all of your plays to make sure they're properly exposed and you're not getting offers. So I have a great strategy I'm going to share with you today and excited to have you. Let me share my screen here. We're also going to go through some new data that we found that is supporting this surge in inventory. We're probably going to see more houses come to market. I'll share that with you in a moment. We're going to go through the strategy to move your listings. And I have for you a breakdown, a timeline of events for the Fix It and List It cash offer program. And it's a really cool program. I'm going to dive into that in just a moment. I want to ask you a question. When you take a listing and when you list the home, you got it on the market, what factors are within your control? So what do you control about that home and how it's presented to the marketplace? So I want you to think through this and really, as I see it, not a whole lot of things are within your control. You really can control the positioning of the home, right? So you get to control the exposure. You get to control how it's marketed. You get to control where it shows up. You get to control how many open houses you're doing. If you're canvassing neighborhoods, if maybe you're doing some, reverse database lookup to match that home to buyers in your database, you get to control all of that. But what about condition? Is that within your control? Sometimes, right? Maybe. And then price, again, sometimes, maybe. And what we know is when you do everything that you can do to expose your listing and you are marketing it, to the fullest extent possible, if it's not moving, what we typically know is it's a condition issue or a pricing issue. And in this market more than ever, I believe that homes that are selling are the homes that are in the greatest condition for the most attractive price, right? It is a beauty contest and a pricing war in today's market. So we're going to touch on this in just a moment, and I have a really cool strategy that I think is going to unlock a lot of opportunities for you. Let me make sure that my chat is opened up here on the Zoom. I just kind of ran right into this and didn't look at that. So let me pull that up and make sure we're good to go there. And how are you doing? How is your day going? Did you watch the Super Bowl last night? I did, and I always watch, especially for the commercials. I wasn't really on either camp, Eagles or Chiefs. I just was there for a good game and some good commercials, and one of the commercials I enjoyed was the Rocket Mortgage commercial. I thought it was really cool how they played that commercial. I don't know if you saw it. They used the song Old Country Road, Take Me Home. And then the whole stadium was singing the song when they returned from the commercial. And it was a really cool moment. I thought, good job, Rocket. And of course, always looking for the real estate commercials. The other ones I saw were the Homes.com commercials, that they set out about a year ago to spend over $1 billion in marketing. And they had Morgan Freeman in the commercials. They were pretty good too, saying Homes.com is the best, but we can't say Homes.com is the best. And it was just really a play on kind of their Zillow wars, if you want my read between the lines on that. Okay, so the chat is opened up, so you should be able to chat with everyone and me as well. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. Looks like I'm just kind of reviewing some of the individuals on today. Hi, Kathy. Kathy Ryan is on. Love you, Kathy. Glad to have you here. Betty, Denise, Judy, Julie, Mary. Hi, Penny. Always nice to have you on here. Thomas. So we got a good group today. Glad to have you. I'm returning our top cash offer markets because I think it's fun to track this, and we're in conjunction with BAM. We're reporting these every week. So on my coaching calls, I'm throwing up what that previous week's top cash offer markets are. And as you can see here, some that we consistently are seeing just over and over again, Las Vegas is continually like in one of the top spots for cash offer markets. We've got San Antonio, Tampa, Los Angeles, Of course, number one this week, you'll see number one spot was the Atlanta area. So a lot of cash offer requests coming from there. And we've got even San Diego, Phoenix, where I'm at, and Nashville, Tennessee. So always interesting to see where those top cash offer markets are. I want to also just take a moment. We released a new lead generating program called Seller Source, and we've had overwhelming response, and I'm really excited. This is kicking off this Thursday, and really pumped for those of you that have already enrolled. We do still have some markets where we need coverage, and these are the states where we still need coverage. Ohio is a top state where we need coverage still. We got a lot of demand in Ohio, and we don't have coverage at all. Oklahoma, Illinois, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Kentucky, Minnesota, Missouri, Arkansas, and Utah are other states where we still need coverage. So if you're in one of those markets and you saw the Seller Source, maybe you attended one of the webinars, maybe you saw the replay, or maybe you just saw the emails flying across, whatever the case may be, I would encourage you to check it out, especially if you are in one of these markets, because as I mentioned, we need coverage there. So just wanted to throw that up there and let you know, but really pumped to kick that off. It is kicking off this week. So super excited about that. All right, there is pent up seller demand. We know it. We can feel it. We know that home sales are really low. We have to go back all the way into the mid 90s to get to the point where home sales were as low as they were last year. And what the quarterly survey of homeowner intentions revealed is that there is pent-up seller demand, and 1 in 5 homeowners is considering selling their home in the next 3 years. So it's a pretty sizable amount of people. And the data is just revealing that there will be an increase in listings. And I think that the question is, will we be the ones taking them? And then when we do get those listings, what are we going to do to move them? Because we also know that homes are taking a little bit longer to sit on the market. So Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, they had a blog post on the housing market, and kind of the internet went a storm saying that they were making bold predictions. The predictions really weren't very bold. The predictions were essentially the same as we just saw, is that a lot of folks are in their home, they're not listing it because they're in really low interest rates, and there's a lot of buyers that want to buy. And so what they anticipate for this year is kind of modest increase in home price appreciation, but they do anticipate more listings coming to market. And so I thought I would just bubble that up, because you see the headline and you're going like, ooh, what's Warren Buffett saying? Well, it really wasn't Warren Buffett. It was his company, Berkshire Hathaway, and their blog post kind of detailed out a pretty modest outlook for 2025 real estate. The lock-in effect, though, is losing steam. There are a lot of life changes happening. I mean, look at what's new babies. We've got marriages, divorces, people that are aging out, people that are passing away, people that are moving jobs. And because of this, more homes will come to market just naturally, just because of this, kind of independent of maybe what some of the political climate will look like and how that may change the economic climate. Inventory is already increasing. I have this map here. It's actually an interactive map, but of course my screenshot doesn't show the interaction of it. But you can go county by county and see how that inventory has changed in your market. This was pulled from Resi Club. I love Lance Lambert. He used to be the real estate editor for Fortune, and he broke off and now he's independent. I follow him on X. He drops a lot of great content. I actually pay to be a part of Resi Club as well, because I like access to these sort of data trackers. But what we know is inventory, for the most part, now there are some areas where it's not, but for the most part, inventory is increasing. So we're already seeing more homes come to market. We also know that homes on average are taking a little bit longer to sell. And Redfin did an analysis of this and said that it was the longest amount of time in nearly 5 years that on average homes are sitting on the market. And so I go back to that question that I asked at the beginning of today's call, is like, what do you control when you take a listing, right? And because I think what happens oftentimes is we take a listing, there's this flurry of activity that we do, we're really busy getting all of the marketing together and getting the photos and getting it positioned and getting it on the websites and planning out our activities, and then it's on the market. And on an ongoing basis, you're reviewing market activity, you're reviewing showings, you're getting feedback, you're holding open houses, maybe you're canvassing neighborhoods, you're doing all of the things to expose that home. And the market, it might just be crickets. And oftentimes when it's crickets, the seller is looking at us going like, well, what else can you do? Like, how can you get me a buyer here? And so in the realm of all of the things that we can control, I really believe that it's condition and price is what it comes down to that is going to move a home in today's market. If you think about it, and because you're out showing buyers, you have more homes for them to go see. Typically. And typically it is the homes that are going to look the best, that are priced the best, that are going to move. And so what do you do to kind of let the seller know that, hey, something's got to give here? And I have a great strategy for you that we're going to go through. NAR always releases their findings on what sellers want from their agents. And what consistently comes up, and you'll see here I have little arrows, is they want help to sell the home within a specific time frame. Like Redfin revealed, the longest that homes are sitting on the market in 5 years is right now. And so homes are sitting for a little bit longer. And because of that, what can we do to change the dynamic, especially if you have a seller that needs to sell? I was talking with an agent over the weekend, and he was inquiring about a Zoodealio cash offer. And, we happen to follow each other on Instagram. So he DM'd me, and I'm like, you know what, I'll just give you a call because our team doesn't work weekends. And so there was no one available just to answer a few quick questions for him. And as I was talking to him, what I learned is that he's got a listing, and this listing is sitting on the market and nothing is moving. And his sellers, they purchased another home in another state, a new build, and they stand to lose a sizable earnest deposit on the new build if they don't sell their home and purchase the new build. And so we were talking through some of the strategies, and what I realize is it's not a one-off. Like, this is happening to a lot of us agents where we've got inventory that's sitting, and we're doing our best to expose that. And it's almost like our marketing is falling on deaf ears. And so there are times when you got to shake the tree, you got to switch it up, you got to do something different. Look at what sellers also want. They want ways that the agent can help them, determine what can we do to fix up the home and sell it for more. And of course, they want help finding a buyer for the home. And so, typically when I come at these coaching calls, I'm really talking about how from a top of funnel perspective, we can use the cash offer to get us to the kitchen table to get the listing. And so today I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach. I wanted to talk about how we can use the cash offers for existing inventory we already have. Now, keep in mind, this also works from a top of funnel strategy because you got a lot of folks that are out there that, are thinking through these things. And as they're doing so, as they're in that consideration phase, your cash offer program may be what gets you at the kitchen table. So don't get me wrong, these are amazing top of funnel strategies, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into how do you use this when you have a listing on the open market? How do you use the cash offers as a hedge? How can you use them to really reveal the seller's motivation? And so that's what we're going to go through here in just a moment. I want to talk about the fix it and list it. Because when it comes to the condition of the home, the fix it and list it cash offer is the cash offer that will help you get that home in top show ready condition. And so that when you have it out there on the market, you're positioned above the competition. So this cash offer, it does work for homes that have already been on the market. So if you've got a listing, it's on the market and it's just sitting and it needs a little bit of work, this is a great option for you to present to the seller. Not only do you get to present them a cash offer, but then you also get to present them a strategy where they can fix and flip their own home, if you will. They get that initial cash payout. And as they get that initial cash payout, they get to move out of their home. They get to move on to their next adventure. And that house then gets repaired and put back on the market. So what I want to do is I want to go through the timeline of events. So we get asked a lot on how does it work? What's the process? And so I thought it would just be a great idea to just do it and show you that process and kind of go through each phase so that you're really clear on what this does look like and how it does work. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to request the cash offer. And there are a variety of ways you can do that. If you have a house that's on the market, probably the easiest way for you to do that is just right from your agent dashboard and clicking the Get Cash Offers button. And I'm actually going to just pull that up so we can all see it and have, a good visual of what that looks like. My agent dashboard is loaded, and you're going to see the button along the left-hand side that says Get Cash Offers. If I click that, I just come in here and I enter the address. There might be a couple pieces of information that the system may prompt me to enter, and then I just click Register. So once I do that, I will have the automatic preliminary offers returned. And so I'm going to pull up a client page right now so you can see what that's going to look like. So we're going to do it together. So we're going to do a Get Cash Offer sequence. So I'm just going to enter an address, and let's pretend that this is a house I have listed on the market and it's not moving. And I believe it's just prompting me for sewer and septic. It's got all of the other information. So we're just going to hit register. And then now what's going to happen is the offers are going to return. And we call these the preliminary offers. And so you'll see I'm right within the client page. I can come down here and I can see the offers that were returned on the property. Now we're going to focus today on the fix it and list it, but there are a couple other offers that were returned. If we want to see them in the offer dashboard, you're just going to click that offer dashboard. And the next sequence so these are the preliminary numbers. You want to get the final number. So the preliminary number, think of it like an algorithm for offers, just like an automated valuation model, but this is for offers. And so once you click this Finalize My Offer button, what will happen is our team of underwriters will then lay human eyes on it and they will underwrite the property. So this step is very important. And I'm going to go back to my slides here. So that offer is returned. This next step we're doing is the Finalize Offer. So you're going to come in here and you're going to click Finalize on the offer that you want to finalize. So in this situation, we're looking at the fix it and list it. So we're going to hit Finalize My Offer. It's going to then prompt me to upload the photos that the system needs in order for the underwriter to do their analysis. So I'll click OK. And then I'll upload the photos. It's going to ask me a couple other questions. And then after that, then it will go to our underwriting team. And within 1 to 3 business days, you will have the underwritten offer back. Okay. So it takes 1 to 3 business days. We're on the leaner time frame at this point. So we're returning in about 1 business day. If you do the Finalize My Offer sequence and you do not have the final offer back within 3 business days, please follow up with our team because there could have been a disconnect. It could have slipped through the cracks. And if it's taking a little bit longer, we welcome you to follow up. You can follow up with us in a variety of ways. You can click that chat button in the bottom right of your agent dashboard, and it'll ask you. You can chat with support, chat with offers, chat with us. You can call us, you can email us, but follow up with us if it's taking more than 3 days. Okay, so once you do the Finalize Offer sequence, if the numbers look good, then the seller or you can go in and accept that offer. Okay. And what happens once you accept an offer? So what then happens is the buyer will send you, the agent, the purchase addendum for the buyer and the instructions for how they need you to fill out the state contract. So I just like to let you know that they don't have an actual full contract. They just have a purchase addendum that they attach to the state contract. So they'll send you those instructions, and also they will send you a disclosure statement that they need the seller to fill out. It's really important that the seller fills that out. One of the questions on there is about the outstanding mortgage balance. And because this is a structured sale, it is also really important that the buyer verify the seller's position in the mortgage. And you'll need to make sure that that disclosure statement and also that mortgage statement is returned. Once that's returned, that will commence the inspection period, and the buyer will then hire a home inspector. Maybe they'll do a sewer scope. Maybe they'll do the different testings in your market that are appropriate, and they will go in and inspect the property. Okay, so the inspection period is a blanket 15 days for all of the buyers in the platform. So they do request a 15-day inspection period. We understand that that may be a little bit less or even a little bit more than the typical inspection period in your market, but that is what the buyer requests. So, all right, they do their inspection. They got their inspection back. So here's now what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you are going to receive an email with the inspection report and with the buyer's repair outline. So what they will do is they will go through the inspection report, and by this point in time, maybe you've had conversations with the buyer, and maybe you've, shared with the buyer like, hey, I think that if we went in and replaced the kitchen, if we remodeled the bathrooms, if we removed the popcorn ceiling, if we fixed the exterior siding, that is really what is needed to sell this home. So maybe you've had those conversations where you've given your input on what you believe it's going to take to really move this home. Maybe you haven't, or maybe the inspection revealed a lot of unforeseen, deficiencies that need to be corrected. So what will happen during that inspection period is you will get a copy of the inspection report. So you'll be able to see everything that the buyer has found. And it's a pretty in-depth report. Most of the buyers use a national inspection company called Inspectify, and they have standardized the inspection process. They return a copious amount of photos, videos, and oftentimes the benefit to you and the seller is that at this point, now you have a full picture of exactly what's going on with the property. And so does the buyer. And then what the buyer will do is itemize out all of the items they believe the home needs in order to really bring it to market in its best possible light. Okay, so now you're going to have this proposal. And along with the proposal will be the dollar amount for the repairs. So they will give you the inspection report, they will give you a contractor bid, and that contractor bid will also have the dollar amount for the repairs. So at this point in time, now the seller has a complete picture of what it would look like if they were to take this cash offer, because they've got the numbers, they know where they would stand, they know what that first payout would be, they would know what the fee would be, they would know what the inspection amount would be, and then they get to make a decision, is this the right, option for me? And they get to make that decision. And what often happens too during this time frame is between the agent and the buyer, maybe there's a little bit of negotiation over what repairs really need to be made in order for this home to shine and in order for it to, really sell well in the current market and in those parameters. And every market is different, right? There are some markets where maybe that home just does need a little refresh, a little lipsticky, as maybe you've heard it termed, a little bit of a lipstick remodel. Or maybe that home is in a market where it supports a higher end remodel or rehab. And so it really just depends on the home and the market and whether the market will bear the upside of those renovations being made to the property. The last thing that anyone wants is to over improve a property, right? And so they're very cognizant of that, and they're going to work with you to make sure that we get that repair process right. So repair proposal comes in, the seller chooses what strategy they'd like to proceed with, and then the buyer closes. So once the buyer closes, then of course the seller gets their first payout. So they're going to get that first payout, and then they will move out of the home. I love to emphasize that they then move out because nobody likes to live in a home while repairs and renovations are, underway. And so this is a huge benefit to the seller is they do get that first payout, they get to move out. And then once they move out, the repairs will start. So the buyer will coordinate the repairs. The buyer will work with the contractors to get all of that, make all of that happen. There's typically not a lot of involvement that they need from you other than you are the eyes and the ears, right? So, if you're reviewing the work and you see something that's not done, to your satisfaction, that needs to be communicated to the buyer And then there is also a final inspection that you will do once the repairs are complete. So once the repairs are complete, you're going to be notified by the buyer that the repairs are complete. And once they are, then they will ask you to go do a final inspection to verify that the work was performed in a satisfactory manner and that all of the work was performed, because then at that point, after you sign off on the repairs, then the buyer will pay the contractor and whatnot. So that is a very critical part in the process. And typically, if the buyer has challenges, maybe with sourcing some certain contractor, maybe they'll reach out, maybe they'll ask for a contractor in your network. The buyer does use a national home services aggregation company. So they have a huge network of contractors. Most markets, they have great contractors in. There might be some that they may reach out to you and say, like, we need a contractor for this. Do you have any recommendations? So we get asked that a lot. Like, can I recommend and refer our contractor? And the answer is yes, the buyer may need you to do that. They may not. It just really depends on your market. Okay, so after the repairs are complete, this is also a step in the process that the buyer will do a resale marketing presentation with you. And this just goes through the buyer's resale marketing agreement. So they have an agreement that everybody signs. When you sign that addendum, there is also a resale marketing plan, and they go through that plan. And it's really just all about getting on the same page with, what marketing activities are going to be done, what are the what are the expectations from both parties, and all of that. After that, property is listed on the market. And so, maybe hopefully in your MLS, the DOMs have reset, because we're kind of hypothetically saying that this would be a property that was already on the market. And so hopefully those DOMs reset and it's a fresh new listing. So you've got this nice brand new listing now. It looks good and it gets put on the market. Now, what else happens is every 2 weeks, the buyer is going to ask you to complete a property status report. It's a really short form, and essentially what that is just you giving them the information on any showings that you've received, any market activity that you've had, maybe any feedback that you're receiving. Also, they do like to see any marketing that you've done on the home. I will say that I was auditing some of the homes that buyers have purchased through the Zoodealio platform that are currently active on the market. And I just have to say that I was so pleased with how well you're doing in marketing those properties. So some of the expectations are, floor plans, 3D scans, the Zillow showcase is amazing. So many of those things you are already implementing. We're seeing a lot of virtual staging. We're seeing aerial photography. I think that the takeaway is that we're working with a really great group of professionals that knows that the digital marketing of the home is absolutely critical. And so you're doing an amazing job of that. But the buyer does like to see and, kind of make sure that you're doing everything that will promote the property and expose the property in its best possible light. Okay, so property's on the market. You're doing the property inspection and doing those status reports every 2 weeks. And then, of course, you're going to get a contract. And so that contract will be received and that escrow will follow just as normal, a typical escrow. And then when that closes, it is the second closing, and that is the second payout for the homeowner. So a couple things I want to just highlight. You get paid on the first closing and you get paid on the second closing. So you're getting paid on both closings, which is pretty cool. You get paid 2% on the first closing and you get paid 2% on the second closing. Now, another thing that I want to just absolutely stress is that the homeowner gets paid on the first closing, so they get their first payout. And part of that structured sale is there is a portion of their equity that is set aside. It's set aside as a risk assessment. It's set aside as a hedge, and that is distributed back to the homeowner on the second closing based on the final resale price. So I like to stress this because this cash offer program, the buyer does not make any margin on the sale. Let me say that again. The buyer does not make any margin on the sale. They charge a program fee. They charge their 6% program fee. Sometimes it's a little bit higher. It will scale up higher if there is a lot of inventory in the neighborhood, or if there's a really high HOA. So there are certain circumstances that can make that program fee go up. But whatever that program fee is that's the buyer's revenue, right? And of course, they have to operate. They have a cost of capital. They have a cost of all of the things. And so they're also carrying, and I think this is important to note because now that we've been at this a while, it's really fun to see copycat cash offer structures. So Zoodealio pioneered these programs, and now we're seeing a ton of other folks do them. And one of the things that I like to stress is that the buyer pays for all of the interim holding costs for that property. And that comes out of their program fee. So essentially, at that first closing, the seller has no more financial obligation for that property. They no longer have to keep the utilities on and pay for the utilities. They no longer have to pay for the homeowner's insurance. They no longer have to pay for the HOA. They no longer have to pay for, interim lawn maintenance, etc. And so they really get to move on, so to speak. They get to, get their first payout and they move on. And then the second payout is predicated on how that home sells on the open market and what that final sales price is in relation to the original purchase price. Okay, so I like to point that out. And then in the, let me show you here, in the Fix It and List It within the dashboard, you can come in here and play with it. You can see examples of properties in here that have been, renovated, and it will also give you an idea of what that financial breakdown looked like for that homeowner. You can switch and see, different ones here and just kind of show, give you an idea of what are some of the projects that the buyer does and what do they look like. So we're working on a revamp of this to add more in here for you and to keep it more current, but just wanted to kind of show you that for now. And then also, if you go to the C breakdown, there is a slider here on the proceeds calculator. So the seller can play around with this. The user experience on the home report for the Fix It and List It tab is even better than this. It's been revamped on the home report, and we're working on carrying that forward into the offer dashboard. So if you have the home report active and you have that homeowner on the home report, that is also a great resource for you as well. All right, I've got several questions in the chat, and I'm not sure when they popped up. So let's see here. Got some hellos. Oh, hello, good morning. Yes, I'm excited for Seller Source too, Kathy. Okay, Mary. So Mary, I love this. Okay, her question, how can I partner with agents that have homes sitting and not selling? I love it. I love that you're already thinking about ways that you can take this and share it with other agents. And so you absolutely can. It gets a little bit more tricky when it's an on-market deal. The process may be a little different when it's an on-market deal, meaning that you're not the agent that has it listed. My biggest piece of advice for you is that if you're going to take this offer to homes that are on the market that you do not have listed, is you can run the address through Zoodealio, just like I showed you. You can do the get cash offer. You can get that number. You can finalize it if you would like, and then get that final number. And then when you get that final number, you can then take it to the listing agent and send them an email kind of outlining what this looks like. We have had agents that have done this. They've sourced properties that are on market. It's not the ultimate use case because I'm going to be real with you. It requires a little bit more work because now what's going to have to happen is you're going to have a phone call with that listing agent, because if you don't, they're just going to think that it's a scam or they're not going to understand it. And oftentimes when that happens, they sadly may not even present the offer to the homeowner. And so you do have to put a little bit more work into it. as I mentioned, this is a strategy that we've used somewhat in the past with agents, and perhaps we can dedicate a coaching call to it on the best practices and ways to do it. Because if you just send out like an email with the offer numbers or with the offer dashboard, likely what will happen is it will fall on deaf ears, because that listing agent more often than not won't understand it and will think that, it's just a gimmick or a scam. Okay, another question here. Kayla, what happens if after the property is listed, the offers that come in below the committed price the seller has agreed to? Okay, so here's the reality. In that resale marketing plan, they set forth what the pricing schedule will be. And this is a great strategy for you, because you can actually use that pricing schedule. And I'm going to get to this in just a moment. So if the offer comes in lower than the list price, then the buyer is going to do everything that they can in conjunction with you to negotiate to get a higher offer amount. If it's too low, then it'll be rejected. And then, of course, then at that point, we'll get another buyer, and hopefully that other offer comes in higher. There's a saying, though, in real estate that oftentimes our first high offer is our best offer. And so when an offer comes to table, the buyer is going to work with you to negotiate and get the highest possible price out of that buyer. Okay, Denise has a question. So if I meet with a client who wants to sell their property, and if they don't want to list it, then I can make a cash offer using Zoodealio, who would buy it, sort of like we buy houses. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the benefits, right? And typically this is how we pitch this is lead with it, right? Lead with it. Sellers want cash offers. They don't want to list their home. They want to sell their home. And so when you lead with the cash offer, you're kind of speaking their language. And oftentimes, though, the cash offer doesn't work. And oftentimes you present the cash offer, the numbers don't work. They don't make sense. Open market makes sense. And so then they bring their home to market with you. And then also, you always have the cash offer as a hedge to fall back on. And I love that. And so right now I'm showing the fix it and list it. This is the cash offer with the repair strategy, but there's also the cash plus, there's a sell now, move later. So there are other options for them. So if that house doesn't need repairs, but maybe they're in a tight time crunch. As I mentioned, the agent that I was talking with over the weekend, their seller needs to sell. If they don't sell, they're going to lose a massive chunk of change on a new build that's being constructed for them. So it really just depends on the circumstance. But what I wanted to do today was get us thinking about how we can use these cash offers for the inventory that we have that's not moving, because a couple things are going to happen when we do that. So let me get back to the slideshow. So I kind of went through the timeline. I talked through all of the various kind of, I believe, main stages of the timeline, just so you kind of understand what to expect when you go through this process. But I want to show you one, because seeing is believing. And when a home is transformed, it just sells for so much more on the open market. Now, Jacksonville, Florida, if you're looking at the top 10 cash offer markets, typically it's in it because there's a lot of cash offer activity in Jacksonville, Florida. There's a lot of homes on the market. And what we know is that the homes that are positioned well sell, and the ones that aren't don't. So this home did the fix it and list it, and it just kind of went through a little mini transformation. As you can see, if you're bringing a home to market with, mustard yellow walls and kind of like blue carpet and linoleum in today's discriminating buyer era, this is not going to fly, right? Like, buyers, they don't want this. And if they do want this, they want it at such a deep discount. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And so when you go in and you refresh a home, it just absolutely does wonders. As you can imagine, absolutely increases the bottom line for that seller, makes the agent's job a whole heck of a lot easier, because now you're not having to preface showings with, oh, it just needs a little TLC. Instead, you've got a home that, looks good and is truly ready for that buyer to just move in and bring their toothbrush, if you will, the old adage goes. And so as you can see, it just really transforms the property. So I want to kind of touch on the financial breakdown for this home. So the as is value, so if they would have sold it in that current as is value, it would have been 535. And I always asterisk this because with the amount of inventory that's competing, I think it could even be less, right? And it also could be a like, when will it sell type of a question. And it could be one of those things where it's sitting on the market for longer because you're looking for that buyer that's willing to, come to the table. That's the reality is like buyers in this market, they're already coming in with a high payment, and the last thing that they want to do is outlay a bunch of cash to make that home their own. So as is value on this was 535. It sold for 780. 780. That's pretty incredible. Pretty big difference. The value increase on that is 245. The repairs for this home were just over 85,000, so $85,000. The program fee that the homeowner paid was $46,800. And so when you crunch the numbers, that homeowner made an extra $112,000 through this program because of the strategy that their agent brought them. And the best part of all is they got to get out, get their first payout. They then, didn't have to live in the home while it was being renovated and repaired. And all of that happened with them not having to worry about it, with them not having to dip into their savings to, improve the property, all of the things. And so as you think through your listings that are sitting, maybe you have a couple candidates that might be good for the fix it and list it. So I want to talk through a couple of the things that we look for. Is this a good, renovation property? And I want to talk through those. And then I want to talk through, what if the strategy is too expensive? What if the homeowner doesn't have enough equity? I want to talk through some of the what ifs because these are the really cool strategies. And I think that the motivations you'll uncover by having this offer and bringing this offer to your seller. So first thing is the homeowner has to have enough equity. Okay. So they have to have enough equity. They have to have enough equity to cover the reserve. They have to have enough equity to cover the repair costs. It does come out of their bottom line, right? I mean, it's their cost. So they have to have enough equity to cover those. Okay. Second is, there has to be movement in that price, in that upward price, right? So if the home is in a neighborhood and nothing has sold that's nicer, there's really no justification for improving the property and seeing a return on investment, then that might not be a good potential. Even if they had the equity, it might not be the right fit, right? Because again, the last thing that the buyer wants to do is run the strategy on a property that the market won't bear the increase in value, right? So we want to make sure that that box is checked as well. And then let's say that, the seller looks at this strategy and the seller looks at that program fee. In fact, let me pull it back up because we'll have a good visual. All right. So let's say the seller looks at this strategy and let's say the seller goes, man, like $46,800 is the program fee. And that's a good chunk of change. That's a lot of money. So you, as the listing agent, this is what I love about this. You brought them a solution. The solution was too expensive. It wasn't worth, the certainty and convenience wasn't worth it to them. But now you've brought them a solution. You've uncovered that it's not worth it to sell for them and give up that $46,800. So now you can go in for the price reduction conversation, right? Like to me, this is like a no-brainer. The market isn't bearing the home at its current price and condition, and we can't change the condition because we don't want to put the money into it right now. We don't want to take that risk right now. It is a risk. So what can we do? Well, then all we can do at this point to improve the positioning of that home on the market is to reduce the price. And now you have the most beautiful segue into getting a price reduction. I mean, how many of us hate the price reduction conversation? And if we're going to be honest, a lot of us don't like that conversation. I, for one, especially early on in my real estate journey, I struggled with feeling like it was my fault. It's my fault this house isn't moving. And, it took, it took me some time to work through that and come to the realization that I can only control what I can control. I can only control the exposure of the home. I can't control the condition. I can't control the price. The seller sets the price. The seller controls the condition. And so what this offer does, and what bringing this strategy to your seller does, is it opens up conversations, and it really gives you the opportunity to show that, hey, not only have you been exposing the property and you've been doing all of the things that it would take to bring buyers in, not only have you been doing that, but now you have a cash offer for them that accomplishes their goals. There's a cost to the cash offer. And if it's not worth it to them, well, then at that point, you can then have the conversation of, well, then let's do a price reduction, right? Like maybe this isn't the strategy because we don't want to invest in the repairs, but maybe we'll take a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 price reduction, something sizable, something that's going to move the market. It's something that's going to put us, ahead of the competition. So we're leading and not chasing. And I just believe this is one of the best ways for you to do that. So I got a couple of other questions here. Okay, what is the program fee? So the program fee will vary. Typically, it's 6%. It could go up. I am seeing higher program fees, especially in certain markets, especially where there's a ton of competing inventory. So there's a couple different factors that will increase the program fee. And the biggest one is competing inventory. Another one is maybe low population density. So the cool thing is this offer works in less dense areas, but then it presents more risk to the buyer, so they might increase that program fee under that circumstance. Okay, another question. If most of the deals that's presented by Zoodealio and underwriting department does not, I'm not quite sure if they don't come to fruition. So if a lot of the deals don't come to fruition, is this okay? But yes, absolutely. I think the question is, can we request finalized offers and get that final underwriting? And if they don't come to fruition, is that okay? Absolutely. We understand that this is a numbers game. Zoodealio was created to help you compete with other cash offer companies, to bring a compelling value proposition, to have exclusive offers and options, but ultimately to keep you at the center of the transaction so that when or if those other offers don't work out, that homeowner sees you as the resource and lists their home with you. And that also in the future, when they're considering selling and they consider a cash offer, we want them to know that they can get those cash offers from you, right? Because what we saw happening early on, and now, as these cash offer companies have gotten bigger, like the iBuyers, like Opendoor, what's shocking to me is how much mind share they've occupied in the consumer psyche. Carrie Wheeler, the CEO of Opendoor, on their last shareholder reporting, she said that in their markets, so in the markets where Opendoor is, likely your market, is definitely my market. If Opendoor is in your market, what she said is that 25%, so 1 in 4 of all of the homes that were on the MLS within their buy box, because Opendoor has a buy box, 1 in 4 of all of the homes that are on the MLS in Opendoor markets, already that homeowner went and got a cash offer from Opendoor. It's crazy. Sellers are seeking out these offers and options. So you got to be the one that fulfills it and brings it to them. Today, I wanted to talk through that on-market property because you got inventory, and I know it's a struggle to, have conversations with the seller about what you're doing and the market's reaction to what you're doing. And I know that often in this market, homes are taking a little bit longer to sell. And so you're having more of those conversations. And so my advice to you would be use a cash offer. It doesn't have to be the fix it and list it. If you've got a house that doesn't need any work. It's just not selling because there's a lot of inventory and, maybe it does need some price improvement, even though here's the hardest thing for us as realtors is when we believe it's priced well and we're still not getting offers, or worse, we believe it's priced well and we're not getting showings. It is the most frustrating thing. And what I know is that there are only a couple things we can control. We can control the condition and we can control the price. And if the condition is good and, that price isn't, it may seem good to you, but no one's coming to look, no one's making offers. We need to do something to spur offer activity. And the only thing then you can do is that price reduction. So in that case, go get the Cash Plus. If the house doesn't need repairs, use the Cash Plus offer. Go through this same sequence, bring it to them, show them what it would look like. They can get their first payout. They can move out. You would be surprised. You would be surprised at how many sellers are frustrated with their homes just sitting and are refreshed to have a different offer or option. And then also you'd be surprised at how many sellers go, okay, thank you so much. I'm glad there's another option for us, but we want to continue marketing on the open market. And yes, we'll take this price reduction that you're recommending. And so my goal for today was to just show you how you can use this offer and this strategy to really move your inventory, to help you get it positioned properly, whether that's condition or price. And if the cash offer works for the seller, great. If it doesn't, that's okay, because it gave you ammo, it gave you a conversation starter, and really you're then able to position yourself as the leader in the market and not the follower. So no, Jeff, Jeff has a great question. We call it the do not work with list. We don't call it the blacklist. We call it the do not work with list. But if a deal doesn't end up working out, are you put on the do not work with list at Zoodealio? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The hit rate, so the acceptance rate on the cash offers, we know what that is internally. And absolutely not. We don't put you on the do not work with list. We love to fulfill on these because what we know is it's unlocking strategies for you and your business. The only thing selfishly that I would ask is if you're, using Zoodealio a lot, getting a lot of underwrites done and, using these as different strategies to take the listing, get the price reduction, use it as a hedge for when you have the listing. Just let us know how it has worked and been a success in your business, because that's always wonderful for us to hear. Because oftentimes, we focus on what happened that we can see here, but there's a lot happening that we can't see. And so I love that feedback. What would put you on the do not work with list? Okay, that's a great question. I don't like to work with assholes. So I always say that I enjoy working with people that have integrity, that have great communication skills, that have good expectations, that are good at communicating their expectations. If you're a good realtor and you do what you say you're going to do and you're great to work with, we don't like to work with people that treat us like dogs. You would be amazed at how many agents do. You'd be amazed at how many agents see us as a wholesaler, or they see what we're doing, they treat us poorly because of it. So those are the type of agents that, probably aren't a good fit. Because we didn't set out to do this. It's so interesting. If you look at our journey, if you look at the Zoodealio journey, we set out to keep the realtor empowered, bottom line, right? Bottom line, I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor since 2003. I opened a brokerage in 2007. At one point had close to 300 agents, and Opendoor came in our market, and we saw the threat firsthand. We saw consumer behavior changing, and what we decided to do was create Zoodealio so that agents could remain empowered and have the solutions that the big guys have. And so, yeah. Okay, you called the help number with no reply back. Okay, Jeff, just do me a solid and send me, if you're able to, send me a quick email. I'll put my email in the notes or in the chat. I'm sorry. There we go. Send me a quick email and I'll get our support team to get a call back to you. And then also, if you would like the copy of today's slides, I'm always happy to send them to you. Feel free just to shoot me an email and I'll send them back. And if you have good news, like how Zoodealio has served and supported your business in any way, we'd always love to hear that too. So, hey, thank you so much for being a part of today's webinar. One other thing I want to mention is that we will be doing a focus group with agents that are using the home report. So our UI UX designer at Zoodealio, her name is Crystal, and she is really wanting to get some feedback from you on the home report, on maybe like how your sellers or your homeowners that are on it are using it, if you've received any feedback. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're using the home report, we're going to ask that you would just join us and be a part of that. That's coming up not this next week, but the week after that. So you'll be seeing more information coming out on the focus group, but just wanted to give it a quick plug. And if you're a part of Seller Source, can't wait to see you on Thursday. Thank you too, Kathy. All right, we'll see you guys. Have a fabulous week and happy home selling.